accused domestic abusers. The New York Times headline, GOP squirms as Trump veers off script with abuse remarks. GOP Congressman Lance is joining me here in studio, coming across the river from New Jersey. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Alex.
I want to get the president's response to these abuse allegations. Does this make you do what the New York Times headline said? Does it make you squirm?
I abhor sexual violence in any form, including spousal abuse. And Alex, I've been involved in this issue for quite some time. When I was in the state legislature, I funded domestic violence shelters in New Jersey by raising the marriage license fee. And I think that we should all condemn any sort of sexual violence.
You have done that, but what about the president?
I hope that he would, and I think he should do that, and I urge him to do that. And the young man should never have been permitted to stay in the White House once there was any indication that this was a problem.
Well, and we should say that John Kelly says that within 40 minutes of him getting the full picture, the full story, he was gone. That said, but the president's tweet, the way he chooses to communicate with the American people with some alarming regularity, depending on what time of day it is, do you agree with what he said there? I mean, he does not even go near the alleged actions against the women and how they might feel?
No, I do not, and I think he should have stated what you've just said, and certainly there was proof, apparently, given the photograph.
All right, what about others? We have plenty of Democrats that are condemning the tweets, but is there a reason why Republicans don't? And if they don't, why don't they?
I view these issues based upon public policy, and I have always abhorred sexual violence and will continue to do so, and will speak out against it, Alex, wherever and whenever it occurs.
And again, this is you, but your colleagues in the House, why do we not hear more of them coming out and saying exactly what you just did in direct contrast to what the president says?
I hope more do, and I would urge my colleagues to do that.
The main issue here is that the president didn't give any recognition to a sense of tone deafness, if you will, in terms of sympathy towards the alleged victims. And the president talks about giving the accused due process. Doesn't it work both ways?
Of course it does, and I am an attorney by profession, and I believe in due process. Due process involves both sides of any issue. Let me repeat, there was evidence based upon the photograph, and I think that that person should have been removed from the White House once that evidence was available.
Do you worry that the president's stance on these kinds of issues may have a disastrous effect for Republicans come November?
I think that each of us will be judged based upon our own position, and certainly that is the case in the district I serve. I have a highly educated district, and I will be judged based upon my position on these issues.
Well, you bring up your district, and I know you came home and held a town hall yesterday in your district there in New Jersey, and you got a bit of pushback from the voters there on issues over the Russia investigation. And specific to that, so there is a new Marist poll out which shows that 2/3 of Americans would believe the FBI over the president. 71% say the FBI is just doing its job. It is not specifically out to get Donald Trump. Where do you fall on that? And are you more likely to believe the FBI or the president?
I think that the FBI has a storied history and is a great organization. I think regarding the Republican memo and the Democratic memo, that both of those memos should be brought forth to the public, and I hope that the Democratic memo can be brought forth as quickly as possible. There may have to be some redaction, I understand that, but I've indicated several weeks ago that both memos should be made public.
Why do you think the president has yet to release the Democratic memo?
The president says that there is sensitive information, and that may be true, but I want as much of that memo released as is possible.
You know, I spoke with a congressman yesterday who has seen both memos, and he said, in no uncertain terms, because I really pressed him, he said there is nothing in the Democratic memo that would compromising national security, revealing sources, methods, all those things that the Republicans have said they're concerned about.
I have read both memos.
And what do you think?
I think that both memos should be released, and I hope that the Democratic memo can be released, and I hope it can be released as quickly as possible.
There are questions. You mentioned possible redactions. How much do you think, in your estimation, might need to be redacted? Are we talking about 1 point, 2 points, 20 points? I mean, it's about a 10-page memo.
I'm not an expert because I'm not on the Intelligence Committee, but I would prefer as much to be released as is possible.
So I want to talk about Russian meddling and the reaction via this Marist poll, what people think about the effect.